Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, America. You are now listening to Mikasa Sukasa, and I am your host, Niko House. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're getting a little bit of a late start today, but we had to do a lot of videos for YouTube. And for my YouTubers, by the way, I know I have been getting the message. Some of you are having trouble listening or hearing the audio on my YouTube videos, which is actually kind of peculiar. And I think I've recognized the pattern. Those who are not using an Apple interface, excuse me, those who aren't using an Apple interface, like a MacBook, iPhone, anything of that sort, seem to be having the trouble. So I'm going to try and speak a little bit louder, or not speak louder, but increase the volume on the microphone. And those who have MacBooks may just have to turn it down a little bit, and so that those who do not have Apple devices can listen and hear me. Because for some reason, only on YouTube though, they're having trouble hearing me. So hopefully that will reconcile that. Also, if you are having trouble with your credit, looking to get a mortgage loan, a student loan, any type of loan, or just want to reconcile your credit so that when you are finally ready to make that big purchase, you can do so. Make sure you check out our affiliate, the Credit Surgeons. You can contact them by going to thecreditsurgeons.com, or you can email them at creditsurgeonsfes. Let them know that I sent you. With that being said, I want to go ahead and get started. So lately, as tension has been ramping up with the Clinton investigations, and tension has been ramping up within the Trump administration, there has really been a lot of arguments, but usually, funny enough, not about either of those two people or what's going on within either of those administrations. And most of those arguments, mind you, are actually happening on the left. The argument seems to be this, and it's a question that I would even pose to you, and I'm going to give you my side, and I would like for you to consider it going forward. The argument seems to be this, though. If you want to hold Hillary Clinton accountable, if you want to hold Debbie Wasserman Schultz accountable, if you want to hold any of the people that were involved in trying to rig or attempting to rig the 2016 elections, if you want to hold Bill Clinton accountable, or any of the establishment really, then you are essentially bolstering Trump. That has been the reoccurring argument that has been taking place, and it is an argument that I vehemently disagree with on several different grounds. Understand something. I've said this before, and I will say this time and time again until the people who feel this way understand why I could never and would never bring myself to vote for Hillary Clinton. At the end of the day, it boils down to this. One person in Donald Trump is a little bit of an egomaniac, a little bit of a megalomaniac, a little brash in his delivery, for sure, and is every bit as arrogant as I would not want my president to be. Got that. That's cool. All the ad hominem stuff, great. We knocked that out. Because the sad part is we can say almost all the same ad hominem stuff towards Hillary Clinton, just in case you were curious. But at the end of the day, it boils down to this one simple fact. One person has the ability to extort businesses and to evade taxes and things like that without any repercussions. And that is a problem. It is. It really is. I get that. But the other person has the ability to extort entire nations and face zero consequence. One person has the ability to extort Haiti with zero consequence, to extort Venezuela with zero consequence, to go after Muammar Gaddafi after he announced that he was going to step down from his throne, just to keep Libya in turmoil with zero consequence. One person can lie time and time again while they're in office and while they're out of office. One person can use their foundation that is supposed to be a foundation of charity work to personally profit in excess of over $300 million with zero consequence. Now, this person, the person who can extort businesses, right? That would be Donald Trump. I understand why that may piss some people off, because it pisses me off. I said it time and time again during the general and primary elections. But the problem is, he's a bit of a loudmouth. He's formed this habit of projecting his plans before he ever conducts them, which makes it very easy to counteract anything that he wants to implement. Not everything, but the important stuff. Most of the battles against this particular person you're going to win if you're on the left. For example, his Muslim ban had to be watered down so much that it in effect was not even close to what the ban was in the beginning. We can think about DACA and the Dreamers. The sanctuary cities ramped up their protection of these immigrants. And although the immigration issue was still a problem, you have to understand something. That also was not Trump. That was the legislature. So that's a different discussion for a different day. But this other person, however, is so well connected, not only in politics, not only in the business world, not only with Hollywood and celebrities, but with national leaders, national oligarchs, and she has them essentially all under her employ. And then when she was put in a position and she could have in that position, showed us that she does have integrity. She showed us the total opposite. She profited damn near more than any president, any elected official while in office in an 8-year period in history. Now, some people may ask, well, why would you still harp on that? Hillary is not in power. I harp on that because I hate to break it to some of you, but that's not how politics work. In fact, oftentimes, just to get to the position that Hillary Clinton was in as Secretary of State, you have to already be deemed powerful. Not only powerful, but controllable. You have to have something to offer in return, because those offices are oftentimes seen as a reward for something that you've already done, or a promise that you have already made. Or Barack Obama was no different. He has a past that is extremely questionable as well. Now, many of you say that you want to hold Trump accountable for the things that he has done. A lot of people claim that the Russiagate story is real and that we should be prosecuting him and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's fine. It's your prerogative. It's not real. It's been retracted. Like, all the information regarding that has been deemed fake. Nobody's proven it. All of it. The only thing that's probably accurate is that he has business ties in Russia. He's a billionaire. That's probably going to happen. There's not one billionaire that doesn't have international business ties. It's not how billionaires work. You don't become a billionaire without having international ties. But if you want to hold Donald Trump accountable, if you have ever hoped to hold Donald Trump accountable, based on things that he has legitimately done, for example, him passing down his business to his kids, how are you going to have a leg to stand on if When Hillary Clinton essentially did the same thing to Chelsea Clinton, you all did not give a single damn. The same people who are claiming that Donald Trump is destroying the institutions of the United States. They completely forgot what Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation has done to the institutions of the United States. Or how about this? We can even take it a step further. Doubling back to when I said that that's not how politics work. Just because you have an office or just because you don't have an office, that is not indicative of how much power you have in the world of American politics. Hell, oftentimes, I mean, we can look to the Koch brothers. We can look to oh my goodness, now I cannot remember his name. George Soros. We can look to the Rothschilds. We can look to any major family who shovels in a lot of money in order to control the scape of politics. Now, we can also see people who like to do it in another way, use their connections to gain power in politics. And I think a good example of that a lot of people don't consider is one William Clinton, Mr. Bill, Bootstrap Bill, Pimpin' Clinton. Remember, people, this guy pulled every string in the book to get the Uranium One deal passed. He has been profiteering off of his presidential connections, and he's not even in office. And you know why he's been able to do so? Because we're still, the American people are still in the mindset of you have to be in office to be in power. And that's just silly. It's naive to think that because it's not true. It has never been true. Power comes from influence. And simply because you become the president of the United States of America doesn't mean that you are going to absolutely have influence over people. In fact, depending on who you were before you went into office, it could be the total opposite. You could come into office with all of the influence in the world because that's the person you had influence outside of the office, as in you had clout, you had pull outside of the office. Or you can be on the other side of that fence. You could be one who had literally bent over backwards for everybody who screamed forward. And that would be who you are in office, no matter what office that is. If you kissed ass and sucked up to everybody while you were a congresswoman or a congressman, then while you're a president, you're going to be kissing ass and sucking up to everybody who paid your way to get there. That doesn't change. A title does not make one powerful. But really, it reveals how powerful you could be, or you truly are not. So, understand, focusing on Hillary Clinton is not focusing merely on Hillary Clinton. It is understanding that Donald Trump, if you despise him, would not be able to do most of the things that he is not able to do right now as far as profiting off of his business while he's still in office. He wouldn't be able to do this, or he would be at least a little bit more reluctant to do it, I should say, if we held Hillary Clinton accountable, if we held Bill Clinton accountable, if we held Bush and Cheney accountable, if we held any of those people accountable, the first Bush, if we held anybody accountable, people, Donald Trump would be much more reluctant to do it because he wouldn't know how to. And if he did know how to, he would say, well, damn, you see all the people who have gotten in trouble for this in the past. I don't want to ruin my brand by being another one. And even still, look at what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with people who think that Cory Booker and Kamala Harris are the answers to our questions, who are both establishment candidates. Because there's really two things that we really focus on when we're talking about Hillary Clinton. The promise, the Democratic promised children. You know, if you stayed in line long enough, it'll be your turn next. That doesn't work. You can't pick a candidate before an election happens, because you don't know what the landscape is going to be come election time. Just as Hillary Clinton, when she had to deal with Bernie Sanders bringing thousands and thousands of people to his rally. They thought that Hillary Clinton was popular. No, she's just the most well-known at the time. She was just the most well-known. That's not the same thing. Being the most well-known, being the most popular are two different things. I assure you, Cory Booker at this very moment in time is absolutely more well-known than Nina Turner. However, if you put Nina Turner and Cory Booker on the debate stage, by the end of that debate, Nina Turner would be more popular, no matter how much more well-known Cory Booker is, because there is a difference. I would say that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are probably simultaneously as known, so like as well-known, so that doesn't really count. But, another great example of this, Hillary Clinton versus Barack Obama, for example. They thought that was Hillary Clinton's election, right? She was more well-known. Well, more well-known is not more popular. It's a backwards thought process that has continued to cause the Democratic Party to plunge into this never-ending cycle of self-perpetuated failure from the top down, because the noble candidates who were running are now being affected by the stupid decisions of the Democratic Party. And if you care about your party, if you care about those people running, sacrificing their time, their energy, and their effort to make sure that their local community is prosperous, then we must address what Hillary Clinton has been allowed to do, what Debbie Wasserman Schultz has been allowed to do, what Donna Purcell has been allowed to do, what Bill Clinton has been allowed to do, with all of the establishment. Because y'all were quick, once again, whenever it was Bush and Cheney, send them to jail, they're war criminals, and all that is true. You're absolutely right. But now you are faced with the decision. Are you going to be a hypocrite? Are you going to ignore the very, very same crimes that you accused the Bush family of and Dick Cheney of? Because I remember I was there. Hell, I was saying half of this stuff. They are war criminals. They don't care about the poor, etc., etc. They're over policing. And yet, Hillary Clinton ramped up a lot of the policies that George Bush initiated. And all of a sudden, we should ignore it. All of a sudden, oh, no, that doesn't matter. Let's focus on Trump. Trump says a lot of mean things. I know. I get it. It pisses me off, too. But you know what pisses me off more? The fact that Barack Obama claimed to be on our side when he clearly was not a progressive at all. He says really nice things, and then he goes and bombs more Muslims than any other president in history. That's not an exaggeration. That is not hyperbole. That is a fact. It's funny though, because the right, for some reason, thinks that he's Muslim. They're like, he's Muslim, that's why he's helping out all the Muslims. And I'm like, yo, this guy is not really the best. If you call him Muslim, and like, is that supposed to be saying that he's trying to help them by throwing bombs like tennis balls at them daily? Not every other day, not every other month, but daily we were bombing them under Barack Obama. That's why we have to continue to have these conversations. That's why we can focus on the future, and we should. But a lot of the solutions to our future are locked away in the past. And the only way that we are going to be able to implement these solutions is if y'all finally wake up and say, hold on. Did we overlook something? Did we miss something? Let's take a step back. That's how you find solutions. But one of the easiest solutions that that sometimes overlook, they overlook this not only in politics, but in their everyday activities, in day-to-day life. Sometimes one of the easiest solutions is to double back and say, hold on, maybe I could have did this different. Let me figure out what I did wrong and address it, correct it, and see if there's a different and more positive outcome for me. Now, it does seem to be human nature, unfortunately, that most people kind of look back and, or they ignore what they did in the past and they continue to repeat their mistakes. So let's be honest, like that's just human nature, it seems like. But I feel like that's something that over time we can overcome. But pretending as if forgetting and moving on is going to solve the problem. And moving on to what? When Trump says a bad word, I've heard some people say a lot worse. Of all races and ethnicities, by the way. I've heard how some black people talk about Africa, and now y'all care about what Trump says about Africa. And I understand why you care. But what I'm saying is, you should have cared when you said it also. Trump's racism is really, at this point, no more powerful. It's not even as powerful as the racist policies that the Democrats and Republicans at large on both sides of the establishment have implemented over the last 2 to 3 decades. On both sides. For personal gain. On both sides. Pretending that Trump is some anomaly. Why? Because he says some stuff? Yeah, he says some stuff. But we're covering so much of the shit that he says that we're not looking at the things that are actually affecting our lives. Racist people are going to remain racist. There's very little that we can do to change that until you meet somebody in person and change their lives one-on-one personally. That I've seen happen, and that I believe could change a lot if we can interact one-on-one in person from a very genuine and sincere perspective. But lambasting how racist Trump is and thinking that he's creating racists, he didn't create racists. Racists, once again, and this may be from a perspective of me living in the South, racists have been bold. I've been called the N-word more times than I can really count, either behind my back or into my face. People have alluded to certain things about my race. It is not just white people, by the way. If you've lived in the South, you've seen that this is not a new discovery. He may have empowered a few, but the great many have already been pretty bold about how they feel. And that's inherent in racism. It's feeling powerful over that person and being able to do what the hell you want to and thinking that you're going to face no consequence. That didn't start with Trump. In fact, Trump is a symptom of that, which is why he thought he could do it and get away with it and win an election, because there were enough people who thought the same way that he did. But those are words. What I'm, and this could be me, I'm a pragmatic, solution-based person. I don't want Barack Obama to sweet talk me and then enhance the police state behind my back. Just like I wouldn't want Trump to. I'd rather Trump complain and bitch, and then I'll be vigilant because I'm like, oh, he's saying some pretty suspect stuff. But then if the policies are right, you know what? Hey, he can say what the hell he wants to if you're going to take care of the people. Not literally, but you get what I'm saying. Within reason. Substance. But we're being tricked. And this is why we keep focusing on the Clintons and what they've done, on her cronies and what they've done, and the system that allowed them to rise to such a ridiculous amount of power with almost no consequence. Because we don't want it to happen again. Many of us don't want another Trump or another Hillary Clinton. But Trump is merely a result. And for those of you who think otherwise, you need to do some research. He won for a reason. Well, two reasons. One, Hillary sucked really bad. But two, because he had the base. He had the base in enough states that it was a problem. Not for him, but for Hillary. He had the base. We could say she won the popular vote, but even though she really didn't, I think it's a lie. But I think she cheated, according to the statistics and the recounts that were taking place. It looks like she did try to cheat, but you can say that she won by 3 million votes, and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine, but that's kind of scary. If you want to be honest, like if we're really looking for solutions. You need to recognize the problem that, say we accept your premise that a lot of Trump supporters may have been racist or at least complicit in Trump's racism. Say if we accepted that premise. You're telling me there were only 3 million more people in the entire damn country that didn't feel the same way? That is horrifying. I would be horrified if I was on that side of the fence. That means that something we are doing is not working. That means the conversations that we are having are not palpable enough. They're not progressing enough. That means the policies even that Obama had 8 years to implement are failing. Education, over policing. I mean, pretty much everything. They're not successful. Income inequality, which affects education and the access to education. All of that is what led to Trump winning. But the fact that 3 million people, that's it. We have almost 800 million people in this country. But 3 million more voted for Hillary. That's not something to brag about. And it's something I don't even know if it's true. But that's scary. It's scary as hell. It's scary that you consider that a success. And it's really, really scary that you think that all of those people who voted for Hillary Clinton are not racist because they didn't vote for Trump. Because that's not how it works, people. The Democratic Party can be just as bad, and that's another thing that we have to address, which is Hillary Clinton's racism. Inherent, explicit, and otherwise. The way she turned away Black Lives Matters, but still black people were supporting her. Like, we have to support her. Like, what? This is the woman who bolstered the crime bill. Remember, super predators? That happened. Come on. Let's have some dignity here. But more importantly, and most importantly, we can learn from our past. Because if that's the only way really that we can change the future, is to know how we failed in the past and make sure that we don't repeat those mistakes. So yes, absolutely. Keep talking about the past and what has not been held accountable, so that if people decide they want to commit the same crimes in the future, we will know and we will be able to hold them accountable. And the standard will be, if you do this, the same thing will happen to you that happened to the last person who tried to break the law and undermine the institutions of democracy and justice. With that being said, people, thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you join the YouTube page, and if you have Twitter, follow me on Twitter at Niko, Niko, CSFB. You can follow me on Facebook as well by looking up Niko, Niko, D as in dog, and then house, HOUSC. Urge you all to share this podcast and subscribe if you have not already. And always remember, people, find your balance. Peace.